The Dallas Mavericks defeat the Denver Nuggets without Luka Doncic. Plus, the Milwaukee Bucks win their third game in a row and 4 out of the last 6. We're going to talk about all that and more on today's NBA Locked On Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On NBA Game Night, where it's every game, every night. I'm Haize. I'm joined by Swipa, host of Locked On Nuggets. And today's episode is brought to you by Robinhood. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at Robinhood.com/gold. Swipa, we had 8 games tonight. And we're going to start off with your Denver Nuggets today, losing to the Luka Doncic list Dallas Mavericks, man. How you feeling about this game?
Yeah. Michael Malone said it best. Y'all, Superman came back, and y'all let y'all foot off the gas. That's literally what he said in the press conference. Yeah. You know, the Nuggets came out in this game like, all right, Jokic is back. Everybody relax. You know, take your foot off the gas, and, you know, we're just going to kind of sit back and let him do his thing. And Joker did, but nobody else came to the party with him, and the Nuggets got down 24 points in this game. But Haize, because this is the way the game is wired, and I said it in the second quarter, I said what's going to happen is eventually the Nuggets are going to start locking in on defense. They're going to hit all their rotations. They're going to be like a 7-minute stretch. They're going to hit all their rotations. They're going to start making their shots. They're going to play very hard in physical defense on the perimeter. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. The Denver Nuggets go on a run where they just absolutely blitz the Mavs, and in the third quarter, they outscored the Mavs 36-22. The Nuggets go on a 27-6 run over that stretch. Michael Porter Jr. and Jokic especially, they just absolutely carry the water home in that quarter. And then to close the game out, the Nuggets are up 5 points, but again, Jamal Murray gives up, I want to say in the last 5 minutes, maybe 5 or 6 buckets, just getting beat off the dribble or beat in the post by P.J. Washington and Najee Marshall. And gives up 5 or 6 layups. Like, these are not like mid-range layups. And then they end up losing the game by 3 points. And again, they went to the free throw line a lot today, Haize. The Denver Nuggets, they get to the line more than anybody else in the NBA when Jokic is in it. Well, more so when Jokic is in the game. It's gone down a little bit when he missed those 3 games. But today, they get to the line 29 times, but they only make 19 free throws. You got to convert your free throws. You hit your free throws, you're able to win that game. Ultimately, Jamal Murray, I don't want to put it all on him, but again, if that's your second best player, he goes 4 of 16 for 14 points and 11 assists today. Just not good enough. But Joker, this is his 5th straight triple-double. I believe this is his 3rd straight 30-point triple-double. Joker goes for 33 points, 17 rebounds, and 10 assists on 13 of 22 from the field and 2 of 2 from the 3-point line, and he was a positive in the plus-minus in this game as well. He's having literally a one-of-one season, and the only thing that's kind of holding the team back from taking off is Jamal Murray has not yet been able to hit his normal regular season peak.
That's 100% fact. Let's get into the other side of that. We're going to hear from Nick Angstadt, the host of Locked On Mavericks, right now.
Dallas Mavericks get a win. No Luka Doncic, but they beat the Denver Nuggets. Jokic returns, and it was a tale of 2 halves for the Dallas Mavericks and just staying alive in the second half. First half, an incredible half for the Dallas Mavericks against the Nuggets. We're just really good all over the place. 44 points in the paint. Denver only had 20 in that first half. They were just cooking on all cylinders for the Mavericks. Their defense was actually playing really well, too. Not a lot of the Nuggets were getting going, except for Jokic in that first half. Then the second half came around, and the Mavs offense just fell off a little bit. The Denver Nuggets came out and were playing way better in the second half. Jokic was getting things going. Finally, MPJ had a good third quarter. And then Najee Marshall, 26 points, a career high for him, 11 of 15 from the field, and hit 3 threes. He has been really struggling to hit 3s so far this season, and he hits a couple of them. PJ Washington, 22 points, 13 rebounds, another massive game for PJ. Like we talked about, the Mavs just won a game where all their guards, Kyrie, Clay, Hardy, Grimes, shot 3 of 23 in the second half.
Yeah, I mean, Nick's on point is always there, and how the Mavs, went ahead and sealed this game. I'm gonna throw a different question to you though, Swipe. You mentioned how Jamal Murray has not gotten started yet. The bench production hasn't been quite consistent either for the Denver Nuggets. Do you think the Nuggets make a move between now and the trade deadline to strengthen that bench some?
I mean, they have Peyton Watson, Christian Brown, and Julian Strawther to work with, and one 2031 first-round pick. They have a contract for Deke Nagy, which is about 4 year, 32. That first year is this year, and they have $5 million to play with Dario Saric probably around the trade deadline. So those are all their assets they have, unless they want to get big and go Porter or Murray or Gordon. So that's really all they have. So I don't really know if they're going to make a substantial trade. Like, Porter's played well enough where I don't think they want to get rid of him. But I will say that backup 5 position is really the big deal. Jokic, if they +4 in his minutes, the Nuggets lost by 7 points with Sarge on the court. That's a 3-point difference. It's a 3-point loss. So I do think they still need to find that. I don't know if people are aware, but DeRon Holmes with their pick this year, he tore his Achilles during summer league. He was going to be their backup rotational big that they were going to play. They traded up to get him at the number 22 spot. And then they gave up 3 second-round picks to do it, bro. So they just really have been trying to scramble to secure that position. And so had they got that shored up, I think they'd be better. But I do think that's something to at least be on the lookout for the trade deadline.
Absolutely. Let's move over to the other player that had a 30-point triple-double today. It's Giannis Antetokounmpo with the Milwaukee Bucks. They get their 3rd win in a row, their 4th win in their last 6 games. Their season is really starting to turn around. I think everybody kind of thought that eventually they were going to hit their stride. Let me ask you this. How did you feel about this game, Swiper? And then on top of that, do you think that the Milwaukee Bucks can gain enough ground and play well enough to get back towards the top of the East? Or is this still going to be a team that wins some regular season games, but you don't really have quite a positive outlook for the playoff hopes?
Well, to answer your last question first, they're in the 6th seed at 7-9.
Yeah,
and
Eastern Conference.
Yeah, they're 2.5 games out of the 3rd place in the East. The East is just it's not good, and so I think some of this is just, I don't really think that there's going to be anything getting in the way of them getting back to the top of the conference behind the Celtics and the Cavs, maybe the Knicks and the Magic when they're healthy. But really outside of that, they were just out of the playoff picture, and now their 3-game win streak, they're back into the playoff picture. So they can do whatever they want because the Eastern Conference is going to give them that leeway. But I think today they just are finding out some ways offensively to really maximize their personnel, maximize Giannis, maximize Brook, maximize Dame. And I think Giannis has also just been going ham as of late as well. I mean, he's really putting his impression on the league as a whole, and I've really been impressed with the way he's been playing. And again, the team, they're not good defensively. Giannis is not able to do as much as he used to defensively just because I think he has to do so much offensively in order to make this team work. But they played really well today, and Damian Lillard had 24 and 13 today as well, 13 assists. And the starters, which last year were really good for the Bucks, they also were very dominant today versus the Pacers, and the Pacers just had no answer for them whatsoever.
Yeah, what's going on with the Pacers is really interesting because it is something going on with Tyrese Halliburton. He has not had a good season at all, really, to start the season, and he hasn't looked quite himself. Now, this team is deep enough, and the Eastern Conference is so close that they'll be able to weather the storm. Hopefully, Halliburton wakes up at some point in time. But Pascal Siakam's giving just about what you want. Benedict Mathurin is having a season that I had hoped he had last year. Of course, he went down with injury, so he's really having a solid season overall. And I think the Pacers are going to still be around that midpoint in the East. The question is can they turn it up at the right time and have another run like they did last year in the playoffs? I don't foresee that happening, but this is still going to be a team that gets some wins in the Eastern Conference.
Well, again, the Pacers are 6-10. They're also, they're 9.5 games out of first. But if you look at the way it's bridged out, they're a game behind Milwaukee. Milwaukee's the 6th seed. So they can have a good week and get themselves back in position. Now, I'll say this. What you don't want to be doing is you don't want to be going back and forth by the time you get to January. You really want to solidify yourself as okay, we're trying to move up into 3 seed, 4 seed area, but we're solidified in the playoff picture. You don't want to be playing around all year because you're going to spend so much effort staying out of that play-in zone. But I do think that the Pacers, talent-wise, I think they're better than the Hornets. They're better than the Pistons. They're better than the Hawks. And they're better than the Bulls for me. And so I think that's a team that they should be trying to knock all of those teams off. But again, I think coming to some is Tyrese Halliburton. If Tyrese Halliburton is not going to be what he was, be like an all NBA level player, then we're far removed from any chance they have of being a top tier contending team in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, 100% fact there. So we're gonna get into a message from a couple of our sponsors here. On the other side of that, we're gonna come in and talk about the 76ers and their game where McCain and Maxey, man, they went off and they needed a win there. So we'll get into that. But first, we're gonna get into a message from Chime. Have you ever hit that moment when you knew it was time to get serious about your finances? Maybe it was saving for a dream trip, paying off credit or credit card debt, or just getting the financial life in order. That's where Chime comes in. With no monthly fees, no maintenance charges, and fee-free overdraft up to $200, Chime has you covered for those moments. Whether it's withdrawing cash from over the 50,000 free ATMs or getting paid up to 2 days early with direct deposit, Chime gives you the tools to make progress. Need a little help? Friends can even give you a boost to temporarily increase your overdraft limit, and when they do, you can return the favor. To date, Chime members have been spotted over $30 billion. Ready to make your fall finances greener? Open up a Chime account in just 2 minutes at chime.com/NBA. That's chime.com/NBA. Chime feels like progress. Banking services and debit card provided by Bancorp Bank, NA, or Stride Bank. NA members, FDIC, Spot Me eligibility requirements, and overdraft fees limits applies. Boosts are available to eligible Chime members enrolled in Spot Me and are subject to monthly limits. Terms and conditions apply. Go to chime.com/disclosures for details. Also want to talk to you guys about Game Time. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time, and Game Time makes buying your next event tickets even easier. Not just sports, Game Time has great deals on concerts and events too, and with the Game Time picks, they gather up all the best deals and put them all in one place. And that's not all you can do. You also get view live seats, get a preliminary view from your seat in the app before you buy. And they have the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code that's LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Or Locked On Game Night coming up next. All right, Swiper, man, let's get into this game. The Philadelphia 76ers get a much-needed victory. They haven't had much of them come so far this season. They get a win over the Nets, 113-98. Jeremy McCain scored 30 points in this game. Tyrese Maxey had 26 points in this game, and they finally broke a 5-game losing streak to get this dub. How you feeling about this win?
Well, number one, thank goodness. We needed to get a win. There's a very real picture where 20 games in, they're 5-15. If they don't get, they don't look good. Their culture is very broken right now.
Yeah.
It's not that they're a better team without Embiid, but I think the team is just different with Embiid in it because it's bad still. But I think everybody's trying to figure out a way to make things work around Embiid because of the injuries, his status in the organization, his status in the NBA as a whole. So it's like, okay, well, get Embiid the ball, let him get it to nail, let him eat at the post, let him work, stand around, let him work. And it's not a bad thing. It's just he's not good enough right now to be able to do that and also to help you win because he's trying to get his body right and his body in shape and also get his game worked out. And Jared McCain, I just want to read the stat lines for Jared McCain since November 10th. 27 points. 23 points, 34 points, 29 points, 20, and then tonight, 30 points. And y'all, just for clarity, I believe that since November 8th, Haize, he's made at least 3-pointers in every game he's played in since November 8th, including tonight, where he was 6 of 11. Somehow, some way, I don't know how, Philly may never win another title again. They haven't won a title since 1983. They legitimately may never win another title. But they can draft their tail off. Tyrese Maxey in 2020. Jared McCain this year in 2024. But they didn't have to try super hard to get Embiid, but landing Embiid and then even be able to find role players here and now. Now, they definitely have passed on people historically as well, but I just a really, really, really strong shout out to Daryl Morey and how they were able to go through their scouting process and the scouts that were in there putting in the time to watch the tape in college. Because Jared McCain, nobody saw him doing this coming out of college, and everybody was giving him, like, if anything, a rough time because he has a more like eccentric personality because he's a Gen Z athlete and he's doing TikTok and all that. Well, guess what? He's dominating TikTok, he's dominating the fashion industry, and he's dominating on the court. He got it all. He has everything in his bag. Everything.
And right now, tell me if you disagree with this. Like, he has to be the odds-on favorite for Rookie of the Year right now.
Yeah,
like,
easy.
Yeah, and if the Philadelphia 76ers, with all their turmoil, they are able to find a gem like this in the draft and still only have 3 wins on the season, it's crazy because this is the exact type of value that the Sixers needed to get out of their draft pick, considering everything that they've given up, how they try to rebuild this team, and they got a gem here. And they still only have 3 wins because they haven't had Paul George and Joel Embiid healthy enough to really win anything this season. Now, I do think it's also key that Maxey shows up. He comes back. They get a win. He shows some leadership in the locker room. And the Sixers got a lot of things they need to figure out, but they do have a gem here in Jared McCain. And I'm just glad to have the season. And people who, like, have an issue with him because he's eccentric or whatever, you might as well get used to it because you're going to see a lot of athletes come out like this here in the future.
Yeah, bro. Like, it's just a new generation of kids. Like, they just don't care about some of the things that honestly they shouldn't care about some of that kind of stuff. And honestly, like, who cares? Like, if you're not hurting nobody, you're just playing basketball, but you're doing it in the way you want to do it. I remember when Tupac came out with a nose ring and people thought that was crazy, but Tupac was Tupac. Like, it was Tupac.
Exactly.
If you got the juice, you can do whatever you want. And Jared McCain right now is like, bet I'm about to ice out all these rookies. Everybody y'all thought was Zachary Reed-Shea, Reed Shepard, Donovan Clingan, all y'all, every single one of y'all all taking second fiddle to me. And he said, he called his shot, said, I'm Rookie of the Year tonight on the court.
Yeah, that's a fact, man. It's crazy to see, man. But I love it. I love the energy from McCain. He's just, as long as he's playing like this, people just got to shut up. Just to be frank, just shut up and let the man ball. Like, that's it. But next up, we're going to get into the Warriors getting their win over the Pelicans today. But first, we're going to hear from Jake Madison from Locked On Pelicans.
Pelicans lose 112-108 to the Golden State Warriors here. I don't know if I want to call this one like a brutal loss to the Pelicans. They had a chance to win it. They sold the inbound pass right at the end, weren't able to make the shot. Then had some trouble with the rebound fouls, things like that. It would be a brutal loss if you were fully healthy, but this team just isn't. Right now, I don't know if victories really should be the expectation for the New Orleans Pelicans. Still no CJ McCollum, no DeJounte Murray, who they traded all that depth for at the end of in the offseason here. It's loud here in the Smoothie King Center as we're leaving. At least it's a party in New Orleans. Look, the big story is not the loss here, but we got reports today that Zion Williamson is not anywhere close to being healthy. We can talk about moral victories, other things like that, but he's not ready to go at any point in this season. This might be a kind of lost year for New Orleans, a la Memphis last year. It's loud, Pelicans lost, at least it's New Orleans.
Gotta love New Orleans, man. New Orleans is always lively, man. The Warriors, 12-3 on the season now, man. After a season that I think people didn't know what to expect from the Warriors coming into the season, man. How do you feel about them getting a win here?
Yeah, their defense has been dominant this year. I mean, really, that's the story of the season for them. They have so much intensity. They're playing so connected as a whole. Steph Curry's having a really good defensive year. He didn't even shoot well tonight, relative, like 6 of 13, which isn't bad. 19, 7 and 7 plus 4. Had some, really did not have like a great possession down the stretch of the game. But Andrew Wiggins, man, 30 points and 4 assists today and 3 rebounds. Really good defense. 9 of 9 from the free throw line. Trace Jackson Davis, really good on the boards. Draymond Green, man, like some of the passes he's able to hit and how he's able to find players, man, it's just really, really incredible to watch him get at it. But shout out to the Pelicans, man. Again, they are down so many players.
Yeah.
And yet they still continue to put up these really, really, really solid performances, man. And they find these players that are like Brandon Boston, who are kind of like, they're kind of floating around, or they're cast off from other teams, and they're able to put it together, like Daniel Tyson, to get it done today. They didn't even have Eve Messi today. Like, they just put players on the court And really, a lot of this is really just a shout out to their head coach as well, and Willie Green, because for you to be able to put fights up like this versus a team that's 12-3, and they put them to the test despite all the injuries you have, I mean, he really is having one of the best coaching jobs of the season so far.
Absolutely. And Jake mentions here that it may be a lost season for the Pelicans. And I'm going to push back on that just a little bit because, I mean, lost in the sense of them making some forward progress in the West, but they own their own first-round pick outright. They have the Milwaukee Bucks pick that's top 5 protected. That's not going to be in the top 5. And so it does end up being a season where because of injuries or they just can't get going and they find themselves on the outside looking in on the playoffs, that honestly could help them. They need to make some more sense of that roster. It's a very deep draft. They hold 2 first-round picks in. They need to move some players to make that roster make a little bit more sense as well. So even if the wins don't come from them this season, they may end up winning as long as they can draft well in this draft this upcoming year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, look, the Pelicans, I think they should be thinking solely about the future. Brandon's putting up some good performances. I think Brandon Ingram needs to be off the roster by the trade deadline ASAP. Just because he doesn't have any more time on, like, he has no more years on his contract, so you're just going to let him walk. I would just try to see if I can get some real assets for him and see if a team believes he's the next piece they need to make a deep playoff run this year.
That's a fact. That's a fact. Next up, we're going to be talking about the rest of the games going around the NBA that we haven't talked about yet. But before we get into that, I got to get into a message from Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn their very liberal rate of 4.25% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on IRA account contributions. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of the high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here. With Robinhood Gold, sign up at robinhoodgold.com. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhood.com/gold. Investing involves risk. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. All right, Swiper, man, we got a couple of games to get into from around the league before we go out today. We're going to start off with the Boston Celtics and their win over the Wizards, 108-96, and we do have John Corrales and a clip from him here.
Nothing really redeeming about this game for either side. The Celtics played ugly. They were interesting in this game for most of it. Fourth quarter, they started to play a little bit more force. Xavier Tillman in the third quarter actually injected a little bit of energy for the Celtics. That kind of helped turn things around. Then down the stretch, the Celtics turned to back to the basket stuff. High post, low post. They started to go inside because their outside shots weren't falling. Jaylen Brown hits for 31. It's not exactly the most efficient game that he was going to play, but he led the Celtics and they needed all of it. Derek White hit a couple of big shots down the stretch, woke up just enough. Basically, good team plays poorly, but plays well enough for long enough to beat a bad team.
I love the simplification of that because that is just what it is. The Boston Celtics are a good team. The Washington Wizards are a bad team. They found a way to win this game, even despite Jason Tatum having a more mortal night than what he's had the last couple of nights. But nothing too deep to get into in this one, man. The Rockets over the Blazers, though, 116 to 180. I mean, to 88. How you feeling about the Rockets win here, man?
Yeah, I mean, the Blazers are not good, but the thing is, the Blazers just beat the Timberwolves in back-to-back games just last week. So they're a team that you have to take serious. And they played really well today. Look, Tyrese, I've had a lot of Rockets fans that have told me that if they could, they would not trade Tyrese in a trade for a superstar. And I'm like, man, y'all are tripping. But again, if you just watch him play, it's like, all right, okay. I mean, I get it. The dude's aggressive. Yeah. He's huge, very long arms. He is so strong and physical at the point of attack. He gets his hands everywhere. You can see the vision with Tyrese. And then Amin Thompson, he gets a double-double at 10 and 11. So you get the Terror Twins off the bench who basically are just hounding you at all times. And then in the starting lineup, you're getting Dylan Brooks, who's having a really good year this year, Alperen Sengun, who's getting better and better as the year goes on. You get Jalen Green, who I'm not like the biggest fan of, but he's a really good scorer at times. but he offers you like a lot of punch, a lot of rim pressure when he's running to the basket. Fred VanVleet, leadership. They just have a lot. Like, and then on top of that, you give them like a coach like Ime Udoka, a bunch of defenders, bunch of young athletes, some good offensive set pieces. They just have I think the formula to be a really good regular season team in the Western Conference, and they're proving it to be so far.
There was a conversation earlier in the week where it seemed like the Ime Udoka kind of wants to go for a superstar, whereas the owner of the Rockets more so wants to build with these young pieces and hold on to these young pieces. You said something important there, and they could be a really good regular season team. Do you think to view them as a more of a threat in the playoffs, is it just let's wait a couple of years till these guys develop, or do you think they're eventually going to have to try to trade for a star or acquire a star?
You don't win championships without superstars. Like, you have to have like a legitimate like terrors in their generation. Like, Tatum is the worst player you could win a title with, I think. Like, Tatum is a top 10 player. Some people think he's top 5. I think he's one of the 4 or 5 best players this year so far. But Tatum is like a very like two-way player, elite off-ball wing, really good scorer, really good wing playmaker. They don't have any of that. None of their players are even close to that. They don't have a Giannis. They don't have a Luka. They don't have a Tatum. They don't have a healthy Embiid. Like, that's what you need. So for me, you want to win a ring now. Well, yeah, you have to go get like a Giannis. You got to get somebody that's like just like an unstoppable force that you can't do anything with. And they can be a good team. I mean, they're a team that can put some pressure on you for sure, but you're not beating like, I don't think you're beating LeBron James, Anthony Davis, even if they're at the bottom of the league by this point, or bottom of the West, and they're the 7th seed again. You're not beating them with a bunch of kids that have never been there versus players that are experienced and versus team that have like legitimate premium, high top end talent right now. So if they're going to try to win this year, they absolutely need a superstar, because they just have to have something that is like, when the moment gets toughest, there is someone we can go to and actions we can go to at all times that's going to give us as easy of a bucket as possible.
Yeah, and the Rockets are set up in a place where they have a lot of young talent. They have a lot of draft assets as well. Like, if a star does come available, it's really the only team that I can see really kind of outmatching, depending, of course, on what that team could win, is probably the Thunder as far as just young talent and picks.
Right.
But the Rockets are right there as far as what they're able to offer if a star does come available. So I guess we'll see as this season goes on, where they end up going.
Mm-hmm.
Clippers get a victory over the Kings, 104-88. This was a fun game through like the first 3 quarters. And then it just, at some point, it just stopped being fun to watch. It was an interesting game. But even in the fourth quarter, I mean, the Clippers outscored them only by 4 points in the fourth quarter. But, like, it was okay. Like, I always have fun watching DeMar DeRozan play. But I'll tell you what, the fact that the Clippers have gone back to using the Rockets version of Harden, where it's high volume, he's having the ball in his hands, he's not necessarily shooting the most efficiently, but it's really worked out for them so far this season to be 10-7 on the season.
Yeah, I mean, Ivica Zubac's been incredible this year. He's been legitimately very good. He's one of the best defensive centers in the league, one of the best rim protectors in the league, but his name is Zubac. So a lot of people are just like, oh, he can't be that good at it. But he's actually really good. Yeah. James Harden, high playmaking year, high offensive creation year. The efficiency has not been there at all. But the threat of James Harden and the fact that he can get downhill still at times at will, that's what makes him so potent, on top of the step back shooting that he incorporates. But again, Chris Dunn, really, really strong defensive guard playing next to him. It just gives them a very interesting combination in their backcourt. And then you get Amir Coffey, you get Derrick Jones Jr., they got athletes on the wing, and then you surround that team with other younger players that are coming off the bench, or some old vets like Batum, Kevin Porter, who had a decent game finally today. Again, still figuring a lot of things out, has not been good so far this year. Mo Bamba coming off the bench. I mean, they just have a lot of pieces they're trying to figure out. But again, some of this goes to Ty Lue. He continues to find ways to manufacture lineups, even if they don't always have the best performance, like especially in the playoff setting. Like, Ty Lue's always experimenting. So I really love what they've been able to do so far. And again, the Kings, they've been balling this year, yo. Like, De'Aaron Fox again today, 29, 7 and 7 on 10 of 20 from the field. So bonus for 24, 15 and 4. DeRozan was 16 and 6 just on 6 and 19 though. Like, those are good quality wins, and I think Sacramento is another team that's in that tier that are going to be competing with them for a playoff spot this year too.
Yeah, especially with the Kings. I mean, they're still adapting and learning. Like when you have DeMar DeRozan on your team, you have to learn how to play with DeMar DeRozan because he plays a very specific way, and they're still adapting to that at times. You're still seeing that, but I think they're going to end up working out. You got two of the best clutch players in the NBA over the last 3 or 4 years. I trust that they're going to figure it out. Last game on the docket today, man. The Chicago Bulls and the Atlanta Hawks, number 1 and number 2 pace teams in the NBA as far as offensive pace. And this was a fun, high-scoring game. The Bulls get the win here, 136-122. And Josh Giddey, who got absolutely killed on national TV by Doris Burke, calling out, hey, he's just not interested in playing defense, has an almost triple-double game to bounce back from that game. It's still a mixed bag for them. They went a very small lineup today. 4 guards out there in their starting lineup, and Giddey, Io, Zach, and Kobe White with Nikola Vucevic. But they end up working it out. 7 players in double digits to get this win over the Atlanta Hawks. And the Bulls just seem to always have the Hawks numbers. I don't think they've lost to the Hawks in the last 6 or 7 meetings with that team.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Hawks, they've been playing well. I want to shout out Jalen Johnson, 25, 13, and 5 today. Like, just a great game from him. And Dyson Daniels, 8, 5, and 4. 4 more steals today. His defense has been just tremendous. And Trey with 25 and 13 assists. Shout out Io, finally getting the respect he deserves in that team that never wants to show him any appreciation and love. 38 minutes played today and 20 points and 8 assists. Really dominant game. I'm already over the Josh Giddey experiment, but he played well today. 8 of 10 from the field. He played well today. 18, 6, and 8. You know, that's apparently, you know, they're one who wants to one they want to build around all that stuff. And Zach LaVine, again, continues to ball. 11 of 18 from the field, 26, 3, and 4 for Zach LaVine. Do you think he stays on the lineup through the trade deadline?
I mean, I go back and forth on this because the questions around him were, can he stay healthy? Can he contribute to winning in his defense?
Yeah.
Zach LaVine is having the first plus defensive season of his career, and it's not by a small margin. Like, the Chicago Bulls are a better defensive team. Like, teams are averaging almost 7 points less per 100 possessions when Zach LaVine's on the court. He's welcomed the best perimeter defensive call in a lot of these games. Like, he called for it against Jalen Brunson. He called for it against Donovan Mitchell. He called for it today. Like, and I think Zach LaVine is trying to answer all those doubts around how much he contributes to winning. It's still a very big contract to move at almost $45 million. And that's the thing in the second tax apron area. That's the question on if they're going to be able to move it. But I would lean more towards Zach LaVine's probably gone by the trade deadline.
I mean, somebody needs to get him, man. He's lights out. Like, he's balling. And I think he looks really good. Again, if he's healthy, it's not really a question for me. He's one of the best guards in the league.
Yeah. Top 10 scorer in the league when he's healthy. So that's just what it comes down to. Yeah. As just a scorer? Who you got? Who's the 9 scorers you got above? Because I'm not going to die on the hill.
That's easy. That's easy. Right. Jokic, Luka, Giannis, Shea, Embiid. That's 5. Tatum, LeBron, Anthony Davis, Donovan Mitchell, and then I'll just put in let me throw in here, and then Anthony Edwards. That's 10. That's 10 right there.
All right, you can convince me on that. I'm not going to argue any of those. That's fair. I'm not going to argue any of those. That's fair. 15. There you go. Any last thoughts, Swipe, before we get out of here, man? I want to thank you guys for tuning in, man, to Locked On NBA Game Night, man. Make sure you guys stay in tune with us, man, every day of the week, every game, every night, man. Y'all can follow Swiper over on Locked On Nuggets as well, where he's doing great work over there with that team over there, man. Thank you guys for tuning in, man. We'll see you guys next week. Peace, y'all.